Welcome to the Deerland Podcast. It's episode number 4. I'm your host, Mike Boley, joined in studio today by the big buck killer himself, Mr. Louie Zinn. How are we doing today, Lou?
Hey, Mike, I'm doing good. It's good to be back.
Yeah, we've also got our resident land specialist, Tyler Sellens. What do you know, Tyler?
Oh, doing well.
All right, and also the most liked resident from Hamilton, Illinois on Instagram, the one and the only Ryan Kirby from Ryan Kirby Art. What do you know, Ryan?
What's up, man? It's good to be here.
Yes, it's the rut. It's deer season. It's sweet November, even though that was a couple episodes ago. It's still here, and we're still living the dream with our favorite time of the year.
It's not over yet.
That's right. A lot of hunting yet to go. Illinois' gun season coming up this weekend. In about 36 hours from now, we will all be donning some blaze orange and
join that Orange Army.
That's right.
Get out there and get after it.
I can't wait, actually. So I'm actually going to take tomorrow off from bow hunting just to get everything ready. I got a new shotgun that I want to get sighted in. Haven't even fired it yet, so looking forward to getting the old Ithaca Deer Slayer 3 out, seeing what it can do. So what have you guys been up to? Anybody kill any deer lately?
I tell you, it's been seven days ago today. I was standing over a nice big Schuyler County 8-pointer. I got lucky. Would have been November the 7th, and had an awesome hunt. 3:55 p.m. I think is when I shot him, but it was awesome. He came out in the middle of the field, and I gave him a grunt and a snort and a little wheeze, and brought him right in, and it literally took 45 seconds. It was over. By the time I saw him, by the time he came in, and I hit him really good. He ran out in the middle of the field and fell over dead. It was just one of those hunts that you see on TV, and normally those aren't the hunts that happen to me, so it was pretty surreal. I was real happy with him.
Was the farm that you hunted this deer on, was it a deer they were familiar with down there and had history with?
Yeah, so the farm that I own, I think I touched on it maybe in episode 1 or 2, but I just don't have the age class bucks that I'd like to see, and there's not a lot of shooters, and I got a good friend that's got a piece of property down in Schuyler County, and actually that morning I said I'm going to check my cameras one more time, and if I don't have any new surprise bucks, then I'm going to go down to Schuyler County and I'll help you, or I'll film for you tonight. I'll run the camera, and sure enough, I didn't have anything on camera that I was too proud of, so we packed our stuff up and we headed towards Rushville, Illinois, and he said, "You know what? We need to split up. We need to hunt. We need to hunt on our own tonight." And he put me in a spot, and wasn't seeing much. I think we got in about 1 o'clock, and we just weren't really seeing a whole lot. And then it can just change in a matter of seconds. It was a 8-pointer that we had a lot of pictures of. I say we because I help him set cameras up and food plots and that sort of thing. So I kind of felt like I knew the property and kind of knew the deer that he was hunting most of the year. So yeah, we were both familiar with that deer, and he actually just showed up this year on his cameras. We think he was maybe 4 or 5. He for sure wasn't any younger than that, but he just happened to show up, and the rest is history. It was a really awesome hunt.
Just a stud of an 8-pointer too.
He was
just a beautiful.
He was just a big mainframe 8.
And what'd you say he scored out at?
147, I believe it was. Yeah, which I've always dreamed of killing a 150-inch 8-point, and it just tells you, when you look at the pictures of that deer, and it just tells you how big a 150 or 160-inch 8-point is.
And if you check out the Deerland Podcast Instagram account, I do have a picture of that, of you and that deer on there, and it just looks like a monster.
Oh, his frame coming in was, because he came out in the middle of this field at 150 yards, and I put my glasses on him. I knew exactly who he was as soon as he came out, because my friend and I were just looking at the pictures of him, saying, "Man, that's a really nice 8-pointer." And as soon as he came out, I instantly knew. And I just went through the motions. It's like instinct takes over. You reach down, you grab your grunt call I gave him one just and then a snort wheeze. The grunt stopped him. The snort wheeze made him look. And I was sitting on a little clover plot, and I actually had 2 fawns in the clover. And I think his curiosity got the best of him. The wind was right at his back. I mean, he had no reason to come in there. But those 2 fawns were in the clover, and I think just hearing the grunt and the snort wheeze, I think he just had to come look at it. And he ran the whole way.
Really?
I mean, just
from about how far away?
Probably 150 yards.
Wow.
And watching him come in with that nice big frame, it's something you'll never forget. And then once he got in there to 60 yards, then you start thinking, this is really going to happen. And then you start, going through the process of where you're going to put well, in my case, I shot him with a crossbow, which I'm not ashamed of at all.
First buck with a crossbow?
First buck with a crossbow. I shot him with a Raven crossbow and just zipped through him. I think he was 43 yards and smoked him. Went out in the middle of the field and fell over dead. But
and I would presume your biggest 8-pointer today, mainframe.
Absolutely. 8. Yeah, sure is. Yep. Awesome hunt. November 7th, magical day.
It is, and you talk to a lot of people. I think historically for me, the first off is Bill Winkie. That's always his favorite day. But I was just listening to a podcast the other night, and Michael Hunsucker said if he had to pick a date, his would be November 7th as well. So a lot of people seem to like that day. So what about you, Tyler? Been seeing anything?
I'm having some good hunts, but just not running into the right deer yet. I've been hunting Dad's farm down in Missouri and had a good one on camera. The neighbors had some good pictures of it too, and he kind of went MIA there for a few weeks and showed up like the 26th. I think we both had pictures, and then gone for a few more days, and they got some pictures of him on the 3rd, I think on the 6th, and ended up killing him there on the 7th.
Again, November 7th.
Yeah, it was a stud of a deer, just shy of 180 inches, and just a good freak. And it didn't look like a overly old deer, maybe a 4-year-old, but just
he was a beast.
It was a beast. Yeah, I was thrilled for those guys. I was glad to see somebody there in the neighborhood get him, and just the opportunity to bring him over and look at him too. So tell the story. And there's still a few running around down there. So it's gun season right now in Missouri. So we've still got till next Tuesday. I think the 20th goes out. So between Illinois this weekend and a few days in Missouri, I'll do a little gun hunting here yet. The rut's still on. I know the deer are still running good, and
it is.
I think some does are in, and it's still a good time to be in the woods. So don't get discouraged if you haven't killed anything yet.
I would say we're probably at about round 3 of the rut, maybe. Where we've had 2 or 3 different rounds of does that have come in and times of lockdown. But Tyler and I hunted my farm this morning, and we didn't get down till 11 o'clock. We were both starving. I think we were both wanting to get down about 9:30, but the deer just didn't allow it. I mean, there was action, and we were both hunting food, actually, too. We were, in the fields, or in the food plots, rather, hunting the food, and so I didn't expect that type of movement that late in the day. But the one deer that I'm after and still haven't caught up with yet, that I've had 4 encounters with in the last 11 days, was out, and luckily Tyler was a good friend and didn't draw back on him and take a shot at him. So
I had strict instructions not to.
Called him off,
I mean, man.
So
I'm at full draw and happen to look down at my phone and see a text message. So I politely just fired a warning shot to him.
Yeah.
Educate him a little bit.
And that's the thing about this deer. He's not the biggest one on the farm, but he's the one I want the most. So I told him, you can shoot any other deer that walks by other than this one. And so he's still alive for today. I'm a little nervous, but we'll see what happens this weekend, and hopefully we can get that chapter closed. I wouldn't mind being bucked out this weekend and get ready for squirrel season. So
Squirrel land
is right around the corner. So, and now we'll get to our guest of honor tonight, Ryan. He's been back in Illinois, hunting the home farm a little bit, and then hunting some of your own ground a little bit.
Yep. So my rut started a little bit late this year. I had a Nomad sales meeting the 5th and 6th of November in Charleston, and came up and then hunted. Actually, I worked mornings and hunted evenings with a buddy of mine over in Knox County. But this past year, my land specialist buddy Tyler Sellens helped me buy my first piece of ground, a 40-acre piece east of Carthage, and it's been great. Really enjoyed it, and been able to hunt it a few days this week, and Mom and Dad's place, which Mike is kind of your neighbor. We're on different sides of the same section, so.
You were showing me some
good.
trail cam pictures of your new place. You got some studs.
There's some
around
good
out
deer.
there.
I kind of jacked one up the very first evening in. You know, you hear the Drurys talk about the first south after a bunch of north. We had that Saturday, and we'd had a bunch of north winds, nasty cold weather, and then we had the first south. And I went in there and had a great setup. I got a ground blind on a food plot, and really it was one of those deals. I'm a rookie ground blind hunter, so I'm trying to figure out all my stuff and which windows to have open and all that kind of stuff. And the sun was coming in one window in particular, and I really felt like I needed it shut because I felt like I was just sticking out. You know, the sun was beating in there, and turns out that's the way the deer came in. I look, and he's at a scrape at 40 yards. And long story short, I thought he was going to hit the scrape and then keep going like they do on their same route of travel. He apparently hit the scrape and just went right back the way he came. So I'm scrambling, trying to get the window down and get off of my chair, on my knees, turned around and draw at the right side of the blind. And basically I drew with him looking at me and boogered him. So, but that was a great deer. I've had a couple really good deer on camera out there, and a couple in daylight too. So. And then passed a nice deer the other morning. So I've seen a lot of deer. Seen at least a 2.5-year-old every time I've been in the stand, and most of the time I've seen double digits of deer. So it's been a good.
And it has all the way around. I know on my farm it's been the best year I've ever had there, and I'm sure that's due to a multitude of reasons. But it's been a very good season for seeing deer for sure.
That's right.
So,
and it's been cold.
Very cold.
Super
you know,
cold.
This feels like December, January weather
Yep.
right now, not November.
And I was just thinking today, Ryan, actually, it was a couple years ago. You usually come back about the same time, and I try to take vacation about the same time. So we're usually sitting 400 or 500 yards apart all day in a tree. And I remember a couple years ago, it was hot. You know, and I say hot, but probably like 60 and sunny, which is just a warm day to be sitting out there. And then today, here it is, 17 degrees or something this morning, and that was cold. You know, it would go from one end to the other, but I would much rather have it be 15, 20 degrees of a morning than have it be 40 at sunrise, you know.
Yeah.
But it's been sustained. I mean, we've had some cold weather for quite a while now. Looks like we got a little bit of a break coming tomorrow and Friday, and then cooling right back down for the weekend. And then I think next Monday morning, the low is going to be like 18 degrees next Monday morning. So good fall for deer hunting, that's for sure.
They ought to start hitting that food pretty hard here to keep these cold temperatures.
Yeah, you know, and I guess with me having 2 acres of beans and some greens interseeded inside of that, I'm hoping for some cold and snow by the time second gun season and muzzleloader season get here. I mean, that's kind of the whole point for me on those big plots, you know, that you can't bow hunt too effectively.
Yeah,
So.
It seems like the deer on my place have migrated towards the bedding close to soybeans, and tonight I saw a lot of deer, over 20, and some of them started on clover, but they all ended up eating standing beans. I mean, they were definitely, you could tell the cold weather's got them thinking about carbohydrates. And
I had some deer this morning,
energy.
Mike, that came out and just specifically went to the beans, just walked out to them, ate for a little bit, and then went on. But they were getting some food in them.
Yeah, and, you know, in my neighborhood, there's not a lot of pick corn around. There's one field just to the east, actually, on the farm that Ryan also hunts as well. That field was corn this year, but I think that's it as far as within, I don't know, a quarter mile or so of any direction. So
Yeah, that's about it. There's very little corn around this year. Most
No.
of it's beans, and so if it's not standing or somebody didn't plant something else, it's I think late season should be good for you.
I hope, you know, you just Actually, I'm hoping I'm tagged out and don't have to worry about it, and maybe you can go out there and kill one.
We're all looking forward to that group hunt.
Yeah.
I know that much.
Hey.
I think we need to do a big deer drive on your place this year, Mike.
Well,
You gotta
Probably
watch it, though.
first gun
Bowley,
season.
He will
We're
pull
gonna
you
drive
off
it?
of a deer, though.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
He's got to tell you which ones
Yep.
you can shoot, though.
nope, just a one deer.
Can't shoot that double throat patch doe, can we?
No, you're not.
See, another one.
You're not shooting her. And again, this is all speculation, but I'm not so sure she isn't the doe every year that comes in early. She's where I'm seeing the bucks at early on doing their chasing, where I killed that buck this year. She beds right off that little half-acre food plot, her and her fawns, every single year. And every now and again you'll see her come out with another, family group of does, but that's her spot. And there's a doe there somewhere the last few years that's coming in early, and it brings every buck from the neighborhood around from about October 28th to November 3rd. So
She's your lucky doe.
she's not. She will die of old age if I have anything to do with it. So
I tell you what, I watched a doe do something today that I thought was crazy, and I'd never seen this before. But I'm in the ground blind on my food plot, and a doe walks in. She's got twin buck fawns with her, and she's an old nanny. I mean, she's just a rectangle with a neck on it. Just a big doe. And that tree, I think it's cottonwood, that's out in the middle of my food plot. We hung a stand in just for a video. And it was such a bear to get the straps around and get the sticks on. When I got the stand in, I was like, screw it, I'm not taking it down. It's staying. I've never hunted it. Nobody has ever hunted it. And that doe walked through that food plot, and she saw those steps, and she ran her head all the way up those ladder and started looking at that
She
stand
knows what that was.
and rubbernecking.
Man.
And no one's ever hunted it. It's not like she got shot out of it or missed or something or spooked. She just knew that
That's the doe you shoot.
that stick.
Man, there's nothing worse than that doe that comes out in the plot that picked you out one time, and
But
every time she steps out, she'll look in that tree. And
she just knew that that ladder is bad and looked right up it. Nobody's ever hunted it.
And
It's crazy.
They say that a lot about these Midwestern deer that way. You get out west, some of those muleys or the whitetails out there that don't get hunted from up above. The Midwest guys will go out there to hunt. They're like, it's just crazy that you can be up in a stand and not a single deer will come up and ever look up. But around here, I mean, it's just ingrained in them that you look up. I mean, and
yeah,
that's
actually,
part of it.
Ryan, I've been meaning to tell you. I
been
hunted
seeing
that plot about half a dozen times in October, so I educated her a few times.
I saw
No,
somebody
I'm
put a corn pile in that food plot.
Hey, no. Let's not be getting
That
those.
was it.
Let's not get those rumors
Hey,
going
hey,
around.
we're not
No,
we're not in North Carolina.
Yeah,
Where
you
I
got-
live now in North Carolina, it's legal, and it took me so long to even get used to the idea of that everybody does that. So I always joke with these guys up here about how I'm going to bring a corn pile with me and
Well,
set it under my stand.
wasn't that long ago. You sent us a picture. You were going out and putting your bag of corn out, and I guess that's one way of doing it. I mean, money-wise, we're probably even with the money we've spent in seed and fertilizer and herbicide and fuel, and let alone the equipment. But I'm glad that we can't do it because
Avoid it, man.
everyone at this table knows that I would be broke because I would spend a lot of money on it, and I would feel dirty every time I did it. So I'm glad that we cannot do it.
Yep. It turns into just feeding. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, if you don't have the feed, you don't have the deer.
You're just trying to outfeed your neighbors.
Yep.
That's all it turns into.
And
My little boy just likes going. He's 2.5, and he just loves going and riding the 4-wheeler.
Oh, I
So
bet.
throwing corn out and checking trail cameras and stuff like that.
and that's my son was 3 this year, and he loved nothing more than go out, and he was helping me put the food plots in. I had the earthway spreader around his neck. I kind of had to help him, and we were spreading seed and dragging it and packing it, and just loved it. So I don't know if it was getting to ride on the buggy or the 4-wheeler stuff like that is what got him, but he just wanted nothing more. One day it was hot. Like, I should have not had him out there, and I kept having him go in the shade and cool off and drink Gatorade, and probably overheated him a little bit, but he refused to go back to the house. He says, I'm staying here with you. So that's some of the best parts about owning your own land and putting those food plots in for me this year was getting to spend a lot of the time with my son. So it's work, but I could think of a lot other things that would be less enjoyable work. So, and this is my first year getting to see the fruits of my labor and see how it's going to do. So brings a different perspective in. Here we are, November the 14th, halfway through, gun season coming. There's a lot of other years that I'm nervous right now because if I don't get a chance, maybe opening day, the second day when that rut winds down and gun seasons happen, I may not see another mature deer on the hoof the rest of the year. I mean, it's just a freak chance if I would, because there was no reason whatsoever for those deer to come through. I don't have many bucks bedded on me. So having food's going to be a game changer, I hope.
You've got one, Mike.
I've got one, and I've got him pinned down. And
I ear tagged him this morning.
And
put a little hole through it for you. So
I'm telling you, this deer has had me sick to my stomach all day. And I don't know how these guys do it that have big farms and know where all these particular deer are, and know if they go into a certain spot that this is the deer they're probably going to see, because it is killing me. And this deer has gotten in my head. I don't know why. I guess I've never had this happen to me before, particularly on my farm, where there is a deer that is regular enough in daylight that I think I can kill him. So I don't know if I could handle this every year, so we'll get through this year and see how it goes. But so what's everybody's plans for the weekend for gun season? And Tyler, don't know.
I'm going to take my son Spencer out Friday night.
Has he been a gun season yet?
Not yet. I don't think so. No. We went out tonight bow hunting, setting the banks blind, and of course we got in there, and sun's down on it, and I'm sitting there and looking around. Next thing I know, I look over at Spencer, and his eyes are getting heavy, and falls asleep in the chair for a while. But we had a good time. Now, of course, the deer come out like right at last light when we're getting down, but I just want him to experience that shooting something. I hope so. So looking forward to it.
So that's your plan? You're going to do Illinois this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to do Illinois at least Friday, and I've got some deer on camera. Nothing too enormous. I passed one. I think he's probably a 3-year-old, maybe 4-year-old at most. But with actually passing a Spencer in the blind, came by at 10 yards and just watched him keep walking. So been a good deer to shoot with him, but just wasn't what I was looking for. So.
Wasn't a bad looking deer, but
Yeah, Spencer's getting the concept too of, last year he thought we were just going to shoot a deer when we went out, and couldn't understand why when it got dark why we didn't shoot something. But this year he's getting a lot of it and really kind of taking it in and enjoying it too. So spotting the deer and pointing things out. So that I'm enjoying that a lot.
And Lou, you got some family in this weekend, and
yeah, we're looking forward to opener on Friday morning here in Illinois for gun season. I got my father-in-law. He comes in every year, and he looks forward to it every year, and we try to hunt as much as we can. I think this year, we're going to hit it just right. I mean, I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday could be really good for seeing mature deer, especially on their feet. Middle of the day, I think,
at least very late morning and very early afternoon,
Yeah, I think it's better from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. here lately. So we're going to hit it hard, and I'd like to see my father-in-law get on a mature deer, and I'm going to do everything I can to try to put him on one. And I'm kind of – it almost feels like I kind of got the monkey off my back, and I'm sure you feel the same way. You've already shot one, so you're a little bit more relaxed and not stressed.
Well, it would be if it wasn't for this other deer. I mean, if he wasn't in the picture, it would be a no-brainer for me this season. But, yeah, I know what you mean. It feels like, all right, you got one in the bank already. Everything else is just house money.
Yeah, we put stress on ourselves for whatever reason.
I don't know.
During deer season to try and prove ourselves, I guess, that we can do it. But I kind of almost wrote this year off on my farm just because I base so much of my information on trail cameras. I just know that I don't have any deer that I want to hunt. So when I shot that good buck on a buddy's lease, it was just like, this is just a complete bonus. So with
you guys all hunt on your place, all the family?
Just me and my father-in-law will be hunting there. Yeah, this weekend, and then we've also got a couple other farms my mom owns that we can bounce back and forth. And I actually might do that. I might change it up and hunt the way I used to back in the day. Go hunt behind the old house, and there's always a good deer running around. Hopefully, we'll maybe run into one over there. But we're gonna hit it hard. And gun season's exciting, but also if you're a landowner, it's nerve-wracking because these deer that you pass and the nice young ones, every shot that rings out, you always think the worst. You automatically think, well, I bet he shot the little 3-year-old or whatever. But
2-year-old sometimes.
yeah, you just cross your fingers
year
and
and a half old.
hope the best.
There's been a little bit of that in the neighborhood here lately.
Yeah, we've been losing immature deer at a rapid pace here the last couple days, and scared for the weekend. But trying to remain optimistic, and any hurdle that's put in front of us, we shall overcome somehow, some way. But and Lou, you were talking about not having any deer on your camera, on your cameras at your home farm, and kind of losing a little bit of motivation to get out there and not seeing anything. And I was just listening to this week's Meat Eater podcast, and they got to talking about some of the new technologies that have happened over the years, and one of those being trail cameras, and how they are nice, they are beneficial, to grab intel, especially if you don't live nearby, or to limit intrusion. But in a way, it almost takes away some of the unknown, to go out there and you just don't know what you're going to see, because we feel like, all right, I'm going to go sit this stand, I'm going to see this deer, and this deer, and so in a way, I think it can be a detriment to the sport of hunting, or so I think sometimes too, it may not hurt to go somewhere where you don't have a lot of cameras and you don't know what's going to show up.
That's right.
Like you said, your mom's place behind the old house. You don't have a clue what's going to show up there,
That's
and
right.
sometimes the unknown is what it's all about.
Yeah,
So.
I also learned a valuable lesson. I've got just south of my property, there's some guys from Georgia that lease it every year, and they pulled up the first day, and I went over and talked to them, and we talked for an hour. And it's good to know your neighbors, no matter who they are or where they come from. I mean, it's just really good to share as much information with them as you can, just so everyone's on the same page. But we both were looking at each other, like going, where'd all the nice mature deer go? And out of the 300-400 acres that we have there, none of us had a good deer to hunt. And then their last day here, everything changed for them. They had two, and they know big deer when they see them. They had two really big deer show up, and actually they hit one of them and never did find it. And those are the things that keep you optimistic going into the gun season, because it can happen. A new mature deer can show up at any time.
Especially with the rut still kind of going on a little bit, and you're going to have a lot more pressure that us bow hunters, we don't necessarily have. I mean, the bow hunter numbers to gun hunter numbers, at least in our area, are 1 to 10 maybe. There's probably 10 times the amount of people out this weekend than what there are last weekend. So you're going to have more pressure, and so anything's liable to happen. I know myself, I just try to take the approach of being as least intrusive as I can. Get in really early, sit all day if you can, or at least sit till late in the morning and get out early, and hope maybe some of those deer from around you get pushed in, and feel safe on your place.
Yeah,
so.
and Louie, you touched on something about get to know your neighbors. I mean, I deal with a lot of people that are new to an area. Ryan, Louie, when you bought your farm, you probably knew some of the neighbors, but maybe didn't. You knew who they were, but if you get in and get to know your neighbors, and it seems like this day and age with trail cameras, some people get so possessive over deer. I'm more of an open book with people. We got some guys at least next to us in Missouri, and we're swapping trail cam photos, and if you do that stuff, you're only going to help yourself in the long run. So that's
if you've got a deer that's borderline, and you're not going to shoot him, and you let your neighbor know this is a deer we've got, I would much rather him know the deer when it maybe shows up than not know and him make a mistake.
Or at the very least you can say you've done your part. You've let him know he's here. You've let him know your thoughts. You ultimately can't control what his trigger finger does, but maybe he wouldn't have known, because there are some deer out there, if you don't know them, they can surprise you, and you can't take that shot back. So.
Yeah, we had some neighbors down there that, I had piles of pictures of this deer on every camera all the time, but he literally lived on us, and they didn't have any pictures until maybe, just probably in the last week or so. But it's just one of those that he was a homebody in a certain area, but they're kind of like, we've never had a picture of him. But last year they had pictures, but they kind of knew what was out there and what to expect, and you kind of learn things from neighbors too.
And one of the things too is that, especially in our section, nobody has that much land.
No.
We're all hunting 40s and 60s and 80s and 120s and stuff like that.
Just the one piece to the south, is 400 or 500 acres,
Yeah.
but that's it,
But there's 200 acres in that's actually hunting ground.
And it's,
The
a
other
lot
half
of it's hard to even access,
Yeah.
or,
But we kind of, it's not like I have 200 acres on this side of the county, and if Mike has a big deer, I'm going to go hunt my 200 acres next to him. Like, we all kind of got what we got.
This is it.
And we're going to hunt a certain way, and it's more helpful to know what's out there. Like, I passed a really nice, he's probably a 4.5-year-old deer yesterday, but I know there's 2 bigger deer in the section. You're probably going to call me off one of them.
No.
But just to know that there's a couple bigger deer in the section. There's probably a lot less smaller deer now after this week. But to know, to work with your neighbors and to know that there's bigger deer out there. Like, we don't even have pictures of Mongo.
Nope.
We don't have a single picture of him.
Well,
this year,
I do.
But I know
mean,
he's out there.
Yeah.
And that helps. That helps everybody to pass the younger deer if we all know what's out
because
there.
just because you don't have a picture of him doesn't mean he hasn't been on your property. I mean,
Exactly.
cameras can't cover everything. So.
I've been watching, just sitting in some stands where you can sit and you can watch. You can say, okay, I know there's a camera down here and there's a camera over there, and not one deer walks in front of the camera, but I see 20 deer that day.
My shooter did that to me last Thursday, and I had this new plot. There's 3 cameras within close proximity because I've been trying to scout this new area. It's a new place to hunt, so I'm trying to cover the areas I thought they would be coming and going. And I'm sitting in the stand and watched a shooter come in, and he went in the plot and out of the plot and didn't walk in front of a single camera. It's a half-acre plot with 3 cameras in it, and he didn't get on a single one of them. So if I wouldn't have been there, I'd have never known he was there that day.
I think cameras are good tools, and I think over time they are going to give you probably 95% of the inventory of what's on your property, but they're probably only really showing you 20, 30% of what's actually
Especially
going
this
on.
time of year.
Yeah.
When the bucks are just running in no particular direction. This time of year, you're not getting everything. You know, I checked my cameras today, hoping that one of those big bucks that the guys south of me saw would be on camera, and I don't have anything different, but I know something new is liable to be there, so it's just a good time of year for something really special to show up.
And I'm at the point where I just quit checking the cameras. They're still out there running. But this point in the season, I had my mind made up of where I wanted to be and, a couple different options based on the wind. And no matter what was on the camera, it wasn't going to change my mind. So I figured we'll just let them run. And then once we get through this, I'll go check them and, see actually what was going on out there. But talking about, moving to an area and your neighbors, when I bought my farm, I didn't know anybody. I mean, not a single soul. I'm from Warsaw. This is, between Hamilton and Nauvoo. I'm not familiar with the area. And it's been 4 years now. I mean, that's kind of how I got to know Ryan in a way. It's ultimately how, Tyler and I got to become friends. Then you get to know some of your neighbors. I've kind of got some access on a couple pieces that surround me now that, more than doubles, the size of my farm or the size of the area that I have access to hunt on. And that just kind of happened organically with time and, getting to know your neighbors and talking to them and them getting to know you as well. So that's been a great thing. And then just getting to know all of the neighbors. And
everybody shares information. I mean, you go through the year and, Ryan, you might pick up sheds on your farm of a deer that Mike had, or I might pick up sheds of something that you saw, or, vice versa. And I mean, it's just good information to know where a deer might winter. And, if somebody's lucky enough to kill that deer, go give them the sheds or something. It's the right thing to do.
Well, that's in theory, that's what you'd like to see happen. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's all right. But what was nice is when I shot that deer, to have a neighbor that, is right next to me hunting it and was just as familiar with the deer as I was, congratulate me, would love to see the buck, and truly happy for me, I believe. And that's what it's all about, because it'd be vice versa. If there's a deer that I'm familiar with that we all know as, as the neighborhood that we're after, if one of us gets it, I mean, that's the best part. Somebody was successful in it. As long as you do it ethically and legally, and that's all that matters. So that's what I like about having that type of neighborhood. And we are in our section. We're blessed with a lot of like-minded types of people. We do have some issues sometimes in gun season where we have some people that don't hunt there year-round show up, and it's more of a crapshoot as to what's going to take place then. But overall, we all want to see the herd, reach its potential, and we've been doing a pretty good job so far. So hopefully we can keep that up. And
once in a while you get a sour apple, in the area, and you just deal with it.
you do, and there's nothing you can do about it. We don't own those deer. That's the thing we have to remember. I mean, the state of Illinois technically owns them. We're just there to feed them and house them and, give them a place to run around and make babies, I guess. So I'm just thankful that I have the chance to hunt them. I got to remember that sometimes. There was 5 or 6 years ago I didn't have a place to hunt at all. So
best news is squirrel season's coming up.
Can't wait.
Cold.
And I'm hoping it's Monday. That's my plan. If I can buck out this weekend, come Monday, it's squirrel season.
What's the deal with squirrel season? Are you really that in love with squirrel season?
I like squirrel hunting.
Yeah.
I like to eat them.
Yeah.
And again, listen to the Meat Eater today. I got to get Renella's new cookbook that's coming out on Amazon here shortly. But he has a bunch of recipes for squirrel in there, and one of them they call it. It's like squirrel hot wings almost. Squirrel leg, buffalo squirrel legs, and apparently it's an amazing dish. Can't wait to try it. So I got to go out and fill up the freezer with some squirrel. And
if you notice episode 1, Louie, throws out squirrel land in the first 3 minutes of it. So.
Yeah, so we bring it up every episode now. I don't know, but
Something to joke about.
Yeah. But honestly, I mean, I do enjoy to go out and squirrel hunt, and typically I'll wait till the end of deer season, when I'm done bow hunting. But if I buck out, I might be done this weekend and get a chance to do a little squirrel hunting early. So
there you go.
We'll see. But
did you see that Ranella where he soaked those squirrels in like a brine?
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways to cook a squirrel.
Yeah.
A lot of different ways to skin a squirrel.
Well,
or not skin a cat.
Right. That's skin a cat. Yeah. I think the tail method seems to be the most effective for me. But well, hopefully, maybe one of these days we'll get the world's greatest small game hunter, Kevin Murphy, on here.
That'd be great.
And see if he can give us a few pointers on squirrel hunting. So, Ryan, what are you doing this weekend, bud?
I will probably be going back south.
Oh.
So I didn't get a shotgun tag for my place. I didn't know if I'd be here or not, and work's been pretty crazy. So I've been working almost every morning. I've hunted about 3 mornings. But
because
working
I guess
in the morning and hunting in the evening.
You still have to buy a landowner's tag since you're out of state, don't you?
I didn't look at it. They're sold out of the first gun tags. I didn't even look at it though to see if I could get a guaranteed out of state landowner's tag.
Oh.
They're I think they're like half the price of
a normal out of state
typical non-resident landowner. But I wanted to hunt my dad's place, my place, and with my buddy Ed, so I went ahead and got the paid archery tag, the non-resident archery tag, instead of doing the landowners. But I didn't even check on that actually. But what I may do is go sit there Friday morning just to kind of have a presence on the place and flash a little orange in the woods on opening day.
You gonna go out with Dad
and get out? He's actually working.
Oh, no kidding!
And he didn't get a first gun either, so he's got a muzzleloader, I believe, or something. He'll be able to hunt out there.
Why doesn't he get landowner tags too?
Man. Well, I mean, he does for his place,
but
he wouldn't be able to hunt on my farm.
That's true.
On my
That's
farm.
true.
Sounds like you need some help out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think Boley's bad about calling you off deer? I will call you off deer in a heartbeat.
Well, and he thinks I'm bad. I'm sure Mr. Zen over there would be the same way.
The problem was Louie or Mike, I should say, could see the deer when I'm watching it too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I had my eyes on him. That's for sure.
But no, I'll probably be going back. So, and it's been, from the time I left for that sales meeting, it's been 2 weeks now. So
time to get home.
Yeah, time to get home. And I got a pile of work to get done. So.
And so, do you do any hunting in North Carolina? Any bow hunting or deer?
I
hunting
do, but it's mostly just to fill a freezer.
Really?
So yeah.
We have opportunity. Is it public land or private land? Or?
No, I've got a lease and then
you do?
with some buddies down there too. But mostly it's just a chance to get out. I actually got a phone call from a buddy that they rough scored him at 169, and he is a North Carolina mountain deer.
Whoa!
So anything over a 130 down there is big.
Really?
But he's had trail cam picks for a while, so he's legit. But I mean that's about as big as they get.
So like your lease and your permission ground it's mountain country then?
Oh yeah. It's the only real way we hunted is it got logged.
Wow.
15 years ago, so they've got roads in it and stuff. But yeah.
So what? I would presume that their food source is just browse. I mean, that's their primary food source.
Acorns, stuff like that. A lot of woody browse. but it's pretty rough.
Corn piles.
Corn piles. But the problem with that, is that people don't bait through the winter. So, once the deer season's over, it's really hard on them, and they get used to having some of that feed, and then you hit January and February, and they don't have anything. So it can be pretty tough, but a lot of woody browse and stuff like that.
And how late does your season go in North Carolina?
I'd have to check. I think we're over. I think we go December 31st.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if your winters are probably a little less harsh than ours, aren't they, out there? Or high enough elevation that you do see some good winter?
Oh,
there?
yeah. We're up there quite a bit. So we've got high enough elevation. We'll see a lot of snow. There's a lot of ski slopes around us.
Okay.
So we'll see some snow, pretty cold. We don't have the wind, though. The mountains kind of cut that wind. Here, the wind can be brutal, man.
And that's been it this week, close. Too. What was it, Monday morning it was bitter cold, and I think it was 28 with a wind chill of 18. And then Tuesday morning went out, and it was 18 with a wind chill of 8, but the wind was actually a lot lower than it was the day before, and that 8-degree wind chill felt so much warmer than the 18 just because the speed of the wind was so much lower.
Yeah.
So, and when do you guys open archery season in North Carolina?
It's around September 15th.
Okay,
so you can kill a deer in velvet, and I'll usually. My work schedule gets really busy like 1st of October through December. So I'll do a little bit early season, and then I just try to carve out as much time up here as I can.
Good.
So,
I guess we'll kind of segue into that as well. I mean, I think probably most podcasts and interviews you kind of tell the same story about who you are, where you're from, and how you got there. But I think a lot of our listeners probably will know a little bit more of your backstory. But, I'd like to hear a little bit more about where you're at today with, some of the partnerships you have and some of the projects you've had going on. I know you had a big deal with Yeti not long ago. You've got a lifestyle line with Nomad going on. Do a lot of work for Winchester, and you've done a little bit of work with the juries on some stuff. And so, I think some people may not realize just where all you've kind of branched out to here recently, instead of just your original artwork as well. So.
Yeah, well, I got my start with the National Wild Turkey Federation as a graphic artist and illustrator when I graduated college. And I made a lot of connections in the outdoor industry there, and so I've kind of branched out from there. I worked for the Turkey Federation for 7 years and then went out on my own. I still do a lot of graphic design and some illustration in addition to the wildlife art that a lot of people know that I do. So Winchester Ammo is my biggest client. So right now we're doing all of their advertising for getting ready for SHOT Show and some of the new products coming out. So they'll actually ship me rounds of ammo in plastic bags, like prototypes and stuff, and we'll do photo shoots. I'll hire models, photographers, all that kind of stuff, and then I'll pull together their new products catalog and advertising and stuff like that. And then I'm also getting ready for my biggest art show of the year, Southeastern Wildlife Expo. That's in February. So I kind of run a gauntlet where I'm hustling pretty good, which is unfortunate because it's during deer season, but I usually find a way to, balance everything. So I'll throw everything on a laptop up here. But, no, I still do, original oil on canvas work. I sell prints. I've got a lifestyle apparel line with Nomad. So that's good. We're expecting big things out of that. So
yeah, some great stuff. I've got some stuff in my cart at Nomad. I just haven't went ahead and finished it. What the reason I haven't is it seems like every day they would send a new email with a new featured item of the day. I'm like, man, I need one of those too. Yeah. So for about 3 days in a row, that was happening. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to have 6 different orders here. I'm just going to make sure get everything in one shot. But
they've got some good stuff too. They're just their regular hunting gear I like a lot.
Yeah, and I started just last year switching over to some of it, and I haven't switched everything over at this point, but everything that I have is it's comfortable. I mean, like their regular old camo hat, it's so comfortable to hunt. So that's the same hat I've been hunting in all fall. Can't explain it, but it fits good. It just feels good. So, but all their stuff.
I'm still kind of a poor man too, so I have to get dressed up. I don't have a big fancy Banks blind to go sit in.
Yeah. Well, I still
got to wear clothes and stuff.
Last year, I hunted in a Banks blind 50 out of 51 sits. Only hung from a tree once.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And didn't
shorts and a t-shirt all season.
Didn't kill any deer either. But of course, this year, I've hunted more out of a stand than I have in the blind by far. But the 2 deer I've killed have been from a blind. So,
you You going to squirrel hunt from the banks?
You know, I've thought about doing some scouting.
He's going to pull in the woods, moving around every day.
In the woods.
Yeah. So this is something else I want to talk about. I mean, first off, this Deerland podcast, it's something that us three guys from the same place had this idea, get it going. Obviously, I reach out to you pretty quick saying, hey, I don't know what we're getting into, needed some help getting, some designing, some icons and looking forward to social media stuff and how to really kind of get going and get growing. And that's something that you've been very successful with, it seems, is growing your social media account and your presence on there and just the reach that you can get with people. Has that been a long process for you? I mean, have you learned anything from what it takes to do it? Because I've been trying and I have failed miserably so far.
It's all been a long process.
Yeah.
So when I first started out, it was 6 years ago when I started my own business, and I had a bunch of freelance work lined up, and I figured that would get me through a year, and I could figure it out after that. So I was doing art and design at the same time. And the way I really started out doing the art was when I wasn't busy doing, projects for companies doing graphic design or illustration, I would paint. So when I first started out, I was painting when there was nothing else going on, when the phone wasn't ringing. So I painted the scrape line, the piece that we use for the Deerland, work. I painted that 6 years ago.
Really? So that was one of the first kind of...
And nobody was paying attention then. I don't even know if I had an Instagram account then.
Wow.
I had a Facebook and a website. And so it's a process. It takes a long time. I've got several pieces of Nomad apparel that are coming out with scrape line. And it's funny because I painted it back when there was no following, there was no audience, there were no sales, there was no nothing.
Yep.
And now it's just taking a lot of time to get to where I can actually make money off of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I went through some real discouraging parts where I'd get halfway through a painting and I would think to myself, like, why am I even doing this? Like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Just scrap it. But I forced myself to finish and get over the hump. And then, painting started getting better and better, and I started just kind of building a snowball. So it's all a grind. Nothing comes easy with that, and Tyler's seen that building the real estate. Like, it takes time, it takes continuous effort, it takes you can't give up. Like my Instagram, when I was busy doing design work, what I would do at night there was one stretch where I went through about 2 months where I didn't draw or paint anything, and I thought, man, I can't get to that point.
No.
Like, I can't get so busy doing work for other clients that I put my own work aside. And so that's when I started doing the daily sketches. Of course, I haven't done one since I've been up here, but I started doing them. I started doing them every day, and I had somebody, and I've improved quite a bit over the years on that stuff. And I had somebody ask me, "Well, where'd you learn to draw?" And I said, "Well, look at my Instagram account.
Right.
Like, look at the hundreds of sketches on there. Like, that's where I learned to draw."
Practice.
So and to go back to the social following, like the daily content helped to build more of a social following too. So.
And that is a huge thing, it seems, is just to connect with your audience and to keep them engaged and give them something that they can talk about and share. And it's kind of like a snowball. You know, you need to get some momentum going and then just build off of it. And
there used to be the way the world's changed with social media and everything now is that there used to be like, gatekeepers to your industry. Like, for me, I would have had to have a gallery owner, and he would control my career, and a gallery owner and a publisher, and they would make or break you. Just like this podcast 15 years ago, you'd have to take a radio producer out to lunch and wine and dine him to get
that's
him
what
to
I
do
did
it.
15 years ago, and that was your only outlet to that. And now I college educated in radio broadcasting and once was on the radio, and then I went a long time and had no way to kind of do it just on the side because I still enjoyed it and loved it and wanted to work on that craft, but you got to work at a radio station to do it. And now with technology, here we are. We have our own radio show. So
I sold an original yesterday to a guy that just found me online. And, 15, 20 years ago, he would have had to have gone to a gallery. The gallery would take 50% of that, and the gallery owner kind of controls my career. So
and you control all
changed.
your own work. I mean, it's just it's yours.
Yeah.
And is that standard, kind of through your industry? Is that
a lot of artists do it differently.
Really?
Some people, and I have a side to me, like some people just want to be left alone and lock themselves in their studio, And if they don't want to get out and do their own marketing and their own shows and stuff, they can do that, but they've got to have representation.
But I think that's something that makes your work even that more special, is the personal connection, where you are talking to, these clients or these potential buyers, and you can tell them the story or the inspiration behind it. That's something that I love when, you see some of your paintings and you can talk about where you got the reference photo or how it kind of come to mind. And, I know you've had some, at the home place, there was one down in the creek at your mom and dad's, and that's part of it, I think, that you couldn't get if it's a gallery owner or something. They're not going to understand that. Maybe they could try to tell that story, but it's not going to be near as meaningful as it is coming from you.
You've taken a lot of your turkey paintings, especially your Osceolas, out of Florida,
from
places
Florida.
we went there. And
Absolutely.
I like that because it's like I see the painting and I'm like, and I'll call you. I'm like, where was that? Because that looks familiar.
Yeah.
Whether it's the power lines or off in the swamps or just a lot of those things.
I take a camera with me, and I took stuff today from the blind. There was a scene across my food plot, and the sun had come up, and so the creek bottom was real dark behind it, and some of the bushes and stuff and the licking branch were lit up, and everything was dark in the background, which a lot of times you look at the woods and it's just limbs and stuff everywhere, And so I took some reference photos today. And I even found a buck from a freelance photographer that I think would work good for it. So when I relist my property, we're going to say that was the inspiration.
I can already
for a
see
whitetail
this.
painting.
Sell the guy the farm. He's going to want to have to buy the.
I will sell you an original if you buy my farm.
And I think
it's not listed, by the way, but Sellens will list it without me knowing if there's a buyer out there.
Yeah.
Everything's
everything's for sale. So
I told you that.
I know.
And I think something that I want to make sure that we talk about on here is, you do original oil paintings and it's fine art. I mean, you're renowned across the country as being one of the, if not the top wildlife artists that there is, and that doesn't mean that it's not affordable for everybody. I mean, you go into my man cave and it's all your work everywhere, but it's not a fortune's worth. I mean, it's all affordable, it's quality, and I enjoy, it's inspiration to me every time I walk in there and just look at it, and I like to kind of surround myself by it. And, I've got some of your giclées, and then I've also...
Ooh, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. That was good.
I was going to let you take a stab at that first.
Hey, no, I do my homework. That's something you learn before you have a guest on. But and then I've got a couple of your turkey prints, and I got them right at the bottom of my steps with my the fan and the wing feathers and the beard of my first solo turkey that I killed this year. And they're kind of surrounded by that, and that's what I see every time I go downstairs. And it just, I don't know, I get so much inspiration from just the painting, and I never would have thought that would be possible for me. And then also you talk about your sketch dailies. You had the field notes thing that you went into collaboration with somebody else on. I got one of those for that, and even that, it's just beautiful to me. It looks perfect. It fits in, and it's affordable. So I just don't want people to think that it's just because it's high quality artwork that it's not affordable. It really is. Check into it. Check your website out, RyanKirbyArt.com. Everything is on there.
It's more than just original oil paintings too.
Yeah,
It's
paper
got
prints.
it's don't feel like you have to buy. Well, you should buy an original. Everybody should. Right?
Well, and I will one day.
But
we've kind of talked about
there's only
it.
one original, so if you really want one of that one, then there's.
And at first I said, all right, if I shoot a 200-inch deer, I'll do an original. And then I thought, man, that's really probably not going to happen. So now I'm down to a 180. If I can a gross 180, then I'll commission an original.
How about
for
the mule
it,
deer
probably. Not quite going to make it. Not quite going to make it. If he could add on some mass, maybe.
I'm not holding off anymore now. If he steps out, I'm pulling the trigger.
But I guess a 180 isn't as far off as I think. I'm not so sure that Mongo's not cutting her close. I think that deer may surprise you a little bit. I mean, he's got a good frame on him, but
I charge by the square inch for
yeah.
oil paintings.
Yeah,
and I can add linear inches too. In
is that 50 cents a square inch?
It depends on how much we need to get to 180.
So not that long ago, a few weeks ago, I sent you some reference photos in case you run out of ideas for your sketch dailies, because on the only decent deer that I'd ever shot. Well, now I just shot another one. I thought, I need one of those on each side of my fireplace mantle, so I may have to send you some more reference photos in case you run out of material for your sketch dailies.
I'll do it for you
in the off season. But
you are the 457th person that asked me to sketch their trail photos, though.
I can only imagine.
You get some really good. I get some really good DMs on Instagram.
Oh my
and Facebook,
gosh!
man.
That would be one downside to having 14,000 Instagram followers.
Would you draw this, please?
Oh my!
Draw this.
But again, I mean, I love your art, and I would own it if I didn't know who you were, just because it just fits. I mean, it fits who I am, what I like about deer and deer hunting. I think the favorite print that I have right now is Turn and Burn. I just love that print. But as I told you a little bit ago, I've got to get one of Scrape Line, especially now that it's becoming huge and on shirts and on the Deerland podcast icon. I like it, and I didn't realize that was one of your first ones,
Yeah, it was. It was. I watched a 6-pointer do that in Knox County.
Really?
And he might have been 4.5. He was kind of a tank, but watched him do that. And when I got back to my studio, I wanted to paint it, so I found a reference.
Were you able to get a picture? Oh, so you didn't get a picture of
I
that
work with
deer?
a lot of – that's another question I get a lot is where do I find reference photos. So I work with a lot of freelance photographers, and I'll either buy it off of them or take my own. So because a lot of times you either find a scene that you want to paint or a particular animal and you put it in a scene.
Right.
It's usually one or the other. But I work with a lot of freelance photographers.
So, and obviously there are freelance photographers out there that will go capture these types of wildlife
Yeah, a
images.
lot of them live out west
Okay.
where they've got access to, a lot of parks that have a lot of deer. Sometimes they're even in high fence or preserves or sanctuaries, stuff like that. I typically like to hunt if I'm out there during the rut. So I don't want to sit in a blind just to take photos.
No, I don't blame you.
180-inch deer, and they do. That's how they make a living. So a lot of times I'll get reference from them.
Huh. So what do you see coming up for Ryan Kirby Art? I mean, just
well, so I've got the deal with Nomad.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to continue to grow, and every day that takes a little bit more and more time. We work a year in advance, and I was actually, before I went to the tree tonight, I was answering an email about the color. So it's at the factory right now. They're printing proofs of it. They'll email a proof, and we need to say, like, for example, the blue on one of the American flags was kind of purple.
Right.
We cannot have purple in the American flag. So we've got to tweak that. So, that's an ongoing thing. Then that's going to be a pretty big deal. Good. So I'll probably branch out into some licensing, and then obviously continue the originals and go into the same shows and stuff that I've got. So,
well, and the other thing that I want to make sure we do touch on here is your generosity, especially back here in your hometown area of Hancock County and Warsaw and Hamilton. The Warsaw Lions Fall Classic is a huge event that's put on. And what did you say, Louie, this year? You guys grossed 6 figures?
Yeah, it was
or netted 6 figures.
Well, yeah, we almost netted 6 figures this year, which was a record. Year number 7. Yeah, it was awesome.
And you're a huge draw to that every year. You donate a lot of your great work, and I've seen some benefits and stuff that I've gone to that you've had stuff there, and you haven't forgotten where you've come from, and that's a big thing. I think all of us, no matter how successful we may get in life or where life may lead us, you don't want to forget where you come from. And, I thank you for that, being somebody that still lives here and gets to see how some of the benefits of that generosity can be spread around. So,
well, I tend to think that a lot of the things you learn in a small town help make you successful. The outdoor industry is a small industry, and so you can't go around burning bridges. And so you try to treat people the same way you would in a small town. And, living within your means and working hard and staying humble, like those are important.
Yes.
And that's I don't think that I've been able to be successful in spite of growing up in a small town. It's more because of it.
Yeah.
I think so. The nature of it is you'll never be where you want to be. You can say I'm successful now, but I'm nowhere near where I want to be.
Don't ever get content. You got to keep on grinding and, keep setting your goals higher and higher and, keep working towards them. I know even in my life, that's something that I do. And I think it's good for everybody to not just settle. Anything that you've done, you can always do a little bit better, a little bit more. And I know I'm excited to see what the future of your business has and to continue to pick your brain. And hopefully maybe this podcast someday, we can get out there and we can reach people. We're lucky that we get to do this more as a hobby. We don't have to worry about keeping the lights turned on because of it. But I still think I would love to reach out and touch thousands of people with the stuff we have to say. And it's just going to take time. It's a marathon and not a sprint. So,
I can't wait to paint an original for you.
Yep. No, it will happen.
6 feet by 8 feet.
I hope Mongo steps out Friday morning.
I was worrying about my taxidermy bill, with a couple of them, and I didn't even think about if I shot a 180.
We've heard it on here.
Oh, man.
We've heard it. If it's 180 or bigger, original.
Done.
No, it'll happen. Now, here's the thing.
If it's on Facebook or a podcast,
is I may have to hire a photographer to come take a bunch of reference photos. And then I don't know if you got a layaway program or something like Kmart used to have, and I'll pay you so much each year, and maybe by the time I'm retired I could pay it off. I don't know, but
we'll trade it off in hunts.
There you go,
at Bowley Acres.
There you go. Well, we'll figure something out. But
I'm waiting on my deck hunt invite from Louie.
Yeah,
but apparently he doesn't have any deer.
There's got a doe or something you can come out.
Yeah.
Well, if you're still around Saturday, it's group hunt at Bowley's Farm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I hope.
Big push.
Yep.
We're
going to make a big push.
Do a little
there we go.
Won't take long to do it because the place ain't that big. So
you do have a good, what is it, 33 or 35?
35. And
you got a good 35.
It is. It's in a great neighborhood, and it's got a lot of potential. And the neighborhood was good, but we'll get her back there where she needs to be here soon enough. But
might take a few years to get it back, but.
That's all right. I'm lucky. I shot one in 15 and didn't shoot another one until 18. So
time to recover.
Especially if I can get 2 down this year. I'm good for another 5 years. So
that group's liable to take another 4 or 5 out of there. So.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. And so we'll get another podcast recorded, hopefully the first part of the week, and let you guys know how our gun seasons went and what we're planning in the meantime, see where the rut's at and what our plan's going to be between first and second shotgun season. So anybody else have any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up here?
Shoot straight. Shoot often if you need to.
Yeah. Be safe. Know your target. Know what's downrange. We do kind of joke around, but safety is a big key, especially during these gun seasons. There's a lot of people in the timber. Even with them wearing their orange, sometimes your eyes can play tricks on you. You get buck fever a little bit. So just know what you're shooting at. Know what's beyond your target. Enjoy it. Take a kid hunting. This is some of the best times of the year right now, mid-November, coming into gun season. Before you know it, we'll be sitting around waiting for it to happen again. So, Ryan, thank you for coming on.
It's good to be here.
We appreciate everything that you've done for the podcast and for us so far. We look forward to continuing it. You look on our website under partners. The only partner we have right now is Ryan Kirby Art, and you got to start somewhere, and I'm happy for that. So I think that's going to wrap it up for episode number 4. I would like to thank everybody for listening today. Please check us out on our Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube at Deerland Podcast. You can also check out our website, deerlandpodcast.com. Make sure that you do like, comment, subscribe, share. Tell as many people as you can about this show if it's something that you do enjoy listening to. So until next time, we'll see you later.